Here we go.
All right. So, hello. Hold on. I'm hitting the wrong button. There we go. It's my favorite song. Don't worry. Three Little Birds. If you don't know it, you need to know it. Everybody.
That's exactly right.
Yes, it is the best. It makes me happy. It's my happy song. Hi, everybody. Nikki Burnett here. Taste Like Nutrition Radio, streaming live on KUHS Denver, the best station in the world as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, so we are here live, streaming live with Connie Jones. If you were here back, it's been several months now, but we've had Connie on before. Connie is amazing. I think we had an instant connection, and I'm super excited to have her back. What did I do wrong?
Number one, turn your bottom one up.
Up.
Number one.
Number one, up.
The bottom one.
The bottom one. Oh, there we go. Henry's keeping me in line, as always. I always tell everybody, I always do something to mess up the technical stuff. It's just kind of part of it. Maybe it's my joke of the day. I don't know, because it's always kind of a mess. Anyway, so Taste Life Nutrition Radio, what are we? What are we about? We are about truth in healthcare. We're about fun. We're about learning about, raw feeding for dogs. We're about spirituality, and today is about Christmas. Yes, I'm so excited about this show. So we really just want to bring truth. We want to we want everybody to see that there's so much out there besides what we usually hear about in mainstream medicine and mainstream media. I think that it can really create a problem when we just have sort of one source of, just a couple sources of information. And my goal is just to bring on people who are amazing at what they do, who give us insight into maybe a world that we have not experienced yet, understanding that there are lots of ways that we can create good health and wellness and, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, all of the things, because they are all connected. They're not separate. They're all connected. And so we have to nourish all of those things to have really a full life that we all want. Correct?
Yes.
Awesome. So this is kind of an interesting show because I hadn't scheduled it. I didn't even know if I was going to be in town. If you watch the show on a regular basis, then you know that I recently lost my mom, and so I didn't know if we were going to be in town or out of town, and things have been just off the charts, kind of crazy, haywire. And so we were working through what to do if we're going to do, or I was working through, it was kind of me, what we should do for this show. And we were going to have Connie on in February, and I wanted to talk about Christianity and religion and, kind of hope. And as I was thinking about it, I was like, we need to have her on now. We don't need to have her on in February. This is going to be an amazing show. Christmas is so much, and Christmas is hope, right? There's so much, and it goes so deep. And in the time of Christ's birth, there was turmoil and craziness and madness and all of the things that were going on, and that's kind of where we are again, and maybe we always are in some way, right? But I know that things are a little bit, I feel like they're a little bit unprecedented now. And so I think that this is going to be a good show. It's going to be fun. It may be deep, and we're just going to have as much fun with it as we can. Connie is amazing to talk to about, yes, about Christianity, but about how to work on that mindset and how to bring success into your world and hope into your world when maybe you feel a little bit hopeless, right?
Yes.
So the way we always start, though, is gratitude. We want to bring gratitude every day. Bring gratitude into your life because it will change your world. So, Connie, what are you grateful for today?
Wow, I am so grateful, and thank you grateful for being here, for one.
Yeah.
Grateful for being able to share the gifts that that God has put in me, and to be able to help people have the freedom to be themselves, because that's what I love doing, is helping free people up inside, you know, whether it's mindsets or old patterns that they've learned somewhere along the way, that are not allowing them to be free to be who they are and for them to show up in their brilliance. And so I'm grateful. I'm feeling especially grateful for that. I've had some incredible breakthrough sessions this week with clients, and always so grateful to see people just, you know, come alive at a whole nother level. I'm grateful for health. I'm grateful for peace in spite of chaos and turmoil.
Yes.
I'm grateful that, you know, that for joy, that you know, that we can feel joy even in the midst of things that, you know, make us sad, or that are not going exactly like we thought they were. Disappointment, you know, because there's always something that we can find joy in, and something we can be grateful for. I practice being grateful for the things that even seem that we can judge as bad, you know, or less than or lacking, and that's kind of that whole next level of gratitude, is when we can be grateful for the things that are bad, because contrast creates clarity for us.
Yeah.
And if we truly believe that everything is happening for us, not to us, then that can change everything. And so that's kind of the way I try to live my life, and the way I coach people to shift. And so, and always grateful for, I mean, I could go on and on and on. I'm grateful for my animals. I heard you say a little while ago that you were, when we were talking, you were talking to somebody else, and you said, oh, I'm just loving being home with my dogs for Christmas. And I'm thinking, I'm so grateful I can be home with my dogs for Christmas. I love that. It makes me happier than anything. But anyway, I could go on and on and on. There's so many things to be thankful for, but we have to find them.
We do.
Know?
Yeah.
And we have to be intentional about it.
Yeah, yeah. Agreed. I think
How about you?
Yeah, you know, a lot of the same. This is an interesting year, but yes, because I lost my mom, and so, you know, navigating this new world of not having her to reach out to, and not having her to talk to about, okay, what are we doing for Christmas this year? What are we doing for Thanksgiving? Or what do I do about this situation, or whatever it is, right?
Right.
And so it has brought me to this interesting place only around this time, because I love family, I love the holidays, I love Christmas. I'm not a winter person, but I love Christmas. I love everything that it's about. I don't like the commercialism, right? That's kind of, I guess I separate the two. I'm talking just about Christmas itself. But it has, it's this whole thing has kind of made me just sort of just come in a little bit and not spread out. You know, it's just, everything is just, I just need to feel like what's the word? Like I just I'm sort of maybe a little bit guarded, maybe a little bit just inside myself a bit, and it makes me want to spend this time. I just didn't want to travel anymore. I've been gone so much, and it's all been just stressful being gone, right? It's not been fun being gone. And then I just really wanted to spend this time at home with my husband, yes, with my dogs, and not travel, and not feel like I have to be happy. And I am happy. Don't get me wrong, because I'm joyous and I'm very happy.
Yes.
But I just want to
be.
Thank you.
I get it. I totally get it. Nothing to have to pretend or put on or perform. You know, and I hope that we all can feel, you know, more and more authentic in everything that we do. But you know, there's still there are expectations when you're out, and you know, and that place. And I love that at your place, that your home is sacred like that. You know, you want to have that sacred space where you can just be.
Yes.
Not have to. You know, do anything other than whatever comes in the moment.
Yeah, and I think I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for family who understands, a husband who is okay with it, and you know, next year will be different, and it'll be great, and it'll be fine. But this year is a year of home, and and cooking for just a couple of us, and
Yeah.
the things. So I think that's what I'm grateful for, on top of just being grateful for Christmas for what it is, right? For as they say, and I put it in one of my little hashtags, Christ in Christmas. We have Christmas because of Christ and because of his coming. And so it's just really such a beautiful time of year. Anyway, so I'm just super grateful for all of it, really. And I'll say this too, that I'm so grateful to know that my mom, when she passed, she was very excited about it, right? I mean, she wasn't excited about leaving us, and there was certainly some fear there. There's still so much unknown, right?
Oh,
We don't know until we're there.
That's right.
But I'm grateful for knowing where she is, and so confident in that she is in the right place, because she did a lot of work here, a lot of really good work, and she had a lot more work to do there, and it makes me, although I might cry, it makes me really, really happy. So I'm just grateful for that, and I'm grateful that it's an experience that is like no other, as anybody who's lost a parent has. I know you've lost your dad, and it's a gratitude for the understanding that she is beyond happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we talked about that briefly the other day on the phone when we were talking, you had asked me to do this, and and it's so interesting, and it didn't hit me at the time until you're talking now, but literally it was the 26th of December last year when I lost my dad.
Oh gosh.
And he was kind of the same, not kind of the same, he was very similar to what you are speaking of your mom. He was a bright light in the world. He was gifted, he was wise, he was a change maker, and he impacted so many lives, and he still had a lot of work to do. But he got Alzheimer's, and he was in late stages, and then we were caring for him at home, my mom and I, and he was doing okay, and he was actually in great health otherwise, but he got COVID, and that's what killed him. And so the 2 weeks, I'm thinking about where I was this time last Christmas. I mean, we were in and here's the beauty of it, and I won't belabor this point because it's not what we're talking about today, but it's part of it.
Yeah.
Here, all I could feel was, sadness, of course, but all I could feel was some joy in midst of the sorrow, because all I could see were all the little gifts in it. Because here's my dad, who is in the hospital for 2 weeks with COVID pneumonia. He's his body's shutting down. Well, he got in an ICU bed, and the doctors, because my mom and I both had COVID 2 weeks before that, and actually I think I'm the one who gave it to him, so I've had to deal with that. Didn't know, had 3 negative tests before I tested positive, so I didn't know to quarantine, because I thought I had a sinus infection, which I get every year at that time. And so had to deal with some guilt over that, but had to release that pretty quickly. And so we got a bed in ICU, and the doctors let us go in every single day and be with him, and that's unheard of. Nobody got to see their loved ones, and here we got to spend every day with him.
Yeah.
And then in hospice, and and so last Christmas was, we didn't do much either, because we were in any minute, at any moment, wondering, okay, when are we going to lose him? And I think I barely got a tree up, at the very last minute. And we had our Christmas dinner, where literally a friend brought us meal of leftovers from their Christmas, because we were in hospice with him. We were in the hospital in hospice, and we wanted to spend every second with him. And then he died on Christmas Day. Day after Christmas, and I was right there on one side of him. My mom was on the other. I had my finger on his pulse and felt his last pulse. Watched him take his last breath. And what a gift to know that he's in heaven. And what better place could he be? Mom and I, we were even 5 minutes after he left Earth, when the life went out of his body. Of course we cried, but Mom just looked at me and she said, he's not here. He's in heaven.
Yeah.
We don't need to stay here.
Mm-hmm.
And so we left because we knew that he was with us, and it was just different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's so I totally understand. Not that I'm in a different place a year later, of course, and I can't. But everybody handles it differently. It doesn't mean that everybody needs to, be feeling, that same sense of gratitude that I'm condemning for someone who is just feeling that deep grief. Everybody has it differently.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where I am so grateful today that, and I love hearing you say it, that you can choose to see the good, and that you can, what better place is there than in heaven?
Yeah.
For her.
Yeah.
And for him, and so and maybe he's meeting her. I don't know.
So they're watching us right now.
yeah. And but there's been so much. You mentioned this early on when you were introducing the show, and and that's. I think we're all feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
We're all weary. We are, and there's so much hopelessness and suffering in our world right now, and people are tired, and they're stressed, and they're in the struggle, and they're disappointed, and they're just existing, and and that's the whole. I hope that this season can be a reminder to people that is not our portion. That's not our inheritance as children of God. That we don't have to, and Jesus even told us, he said, you will have trouble in the world. The world is a mean, awful, cruel, ugly place sometimes. It's dark sometimes. But we all have a light in us.
Yeah. And
we've just got to tap into that. We've got to connect with that. We've got to reignite that. We've got to reconnect with God in us and understand what Jesus really did for us.
Right.
When he came to earth, because if we remember in the Bible, and I'm not a scholar, so I don't want to, speak things that are untrue, but I do know that between the Old Testament and the New Testament in the Bible, there were 400 years where God was completely silent.
Right.
And I know I've had times in my life where God feels really silent, and it has felt like at times, politically and financially, economically in our country, in our world, with the chaos and the turmoil, with COVID, with the pandemic, with loss, with just worldly disappointment and struggle and stress that we have to deal with every day. A lot of days can feel like God is silent. A lot of days it can feel hopeless and dark, and but God was silent. It didn't mean that he wasn't there. It meant that he was preparing to bring what we all were not prepared for.
Right.
And or he was trying to prepare us to bring what we all just could not even imagine. And we wanted something so different. We wanted a king. We wanted a rescuer. We wanted somebody who was going to come in and change it all. And we didn't expect it to be in the form that it was in Jesus and a baby and in poverty and but that's where God always uses the things that feel so unworthy and lowly to make them, better than, because of who he is, to make them better than we could have ever, that we can do for ourselves.
Right.
And so he wants to redeem and restore all those places that darkness has stolen from us. And so that we can have a different life, and that's what I'm so passionate about. Helping people get. In life and business, and our purpose and our whatever we're doing in the world.
And I love that. And, oh gosh, there's so much in what you just said. One of the things that we went to church last weekend, and the sermon was basically a history lesson which I appreciate, right? I want to know the whys and the ins and outs and all of the things. But one of the things that stuck with me, you know, there's some who believe, let me see if I'm going to say this right, that God came to us in human form so he would know what it was like to be human, which is a little bit backwards and doesn't make sense because God already just knows everything. And in fact, it was so we know that he knows what it's like to be human. I mean, he went through it, he's been through it, and it's the troubles, and I do find it interesting to know that everything that was going on at that time was chaos. It was pure chaos. And when we were discussing the show, you know, I was like, you know, we were both, you know, what do we want this show to be? What do we want it to look like? And you said it so well, and it was, now I didn't write it down. It was the joy in the sorrow. You know, there is joy in the sorrow. There's joy in the pain. There's joy in the frustration. There's joy in the chaos. And it's a choice, right? Yeah. It's a choice to choose that joy. You know, I've said before, and I get this. Do you know who Dennis Prager is?
Yeah. I know the name. Yeah. How do I know that name? Yeah.
So he's a conservative talk show host. But
yes. Okay.
Yeah. But he talks a lot about happiness, and what it and happiness is a choice, and to be intentionally happy. And I learned this from him because it's so true. You know, and if we can try to do this for ourselves, it will change the world. That to be intentionally happy and to make the choice to find the joy in the sadness and the joy in the pain and the joy in the true chaos that we're experiencing right now. That, I don't know, is it unprecedented? I don't know. I feel like it is, but you know, I like you said earlier, I'm not a scholar. I don't see, you know, from 100,000 feet up or from God's view.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
None of us can. Yeah.
But I do believe that it's a choice to be happy and to find the joy, and to understand. I think it's easy. It's not going to sound. It's not easy to do, but that how much history that there truly is in all that we're experiencing, and take that history and bring it into today. And there's still so much that I don't know. I'm talking like I actually have a clue. I kind of don't. But
nor do I. I mean, there's so many, and, you know, and history does repeat itself. Yeah. And so we're seeing so many things that have happened before in different eras. You know, in different in the era of pre-Jesus, the era of, you know, other times in our world. You know, where everything cycles and things are repeating themselves, but it's all the pain and the struggle and the suffering of the human condition, of us, of us trying to figure things out, us trying to be self-sufficient, us trying to survive, us trying to be, you know, going after what money and power, and thinking that those things are going to fulfill that God-sized hole in our heart, you know, and it's all a product of our humanness, and God knows that. He's known that from the beginning, at the very beginning in the garden with Adam and Eve and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. He wasn't withholding. They thought he was. He wasn't holding back from them, just like he's not withholding from us. He was protecting them. And so sometimes what feels like punishment to us, and what feels like, you know, just this, you know, God is non-existent and he hates me and he's punishing me, is often either our preparation or it's protection, one or the other. And it's so hard though when we're in the cloud cover, when we can't see, we can't yet see how it's going to happen, or where it's going to end up, or where is that thing that I'm hoping for, or why didn't that happen for me, or we compare ourselves to someone else and where we think we should be, and it's, it can get real. We can live in what I call the D's. We can live in the disappointment, the discouragement, and the defeat really quickly. But that it's twofold. What you said about Jesus, I happen to think that definitely that God, wanted us to understand that. I think that was probably the first thing, the first priority, that He wanted us to understand that He knew what it was like to be human. But secondly, that Jesus was really a model for us.
Right.
He could have, all that He overcame as a human being, and the struggles that He had, and the attacks from the darkness that the temptations, He was tested with everything that we're tested on a daily basis.
Right.
And if we look at Jesus laid out a model for us about how to live in victory over darkness, how to live in victory over bondage, how to, break through strongholds that keep us stuck, how to understand what the gifts are that we've been given and do our ministry in the world in the unique way that God has created us to, but run in our own lane and not try to do everything and be everything to everybody, because Jesus didn't even heal everybody. He didn't even, when He knew when He needed to go rest, and He would walk away. He knew when God wasn't calling Him to speak to someone, or wasn't calling, or to a group, or wasn't calling Him to practice that miracle in that moment, or He wasn't, Jesus knew all of those things, and that's why His teachings, I believe, are so life-changing. They're transformational, because He gave us the map, if we study, to understand how to overcome the things that are going to come against us in the world as human beings. And God didn't leave us without, He didn't just put us here and leave us. Well, first of all, we made the decision to be here, but that wasn't His plan in the beginning. But because we were in the beginning, His whole God was, it was harmony. It was about being harmonious with Him. It was about being in perfect connection and relationship with Him. It was about having everything we needed in abundance. And we made the decision years ago, many, many years ago, that we were going to that we wanted to know what He didn't want us to know, which was His protection about evil. And so He said, okay, I can't keep you from it, so if that's what you're going to choose, then, so He has spent the rest of, He tried to start over with Noah, and tried to, and then He was, had sadness that, it didn't turn out the way that He had planned it, but then He realized, okay, they're just not going to get it. So I'm going to have to up the ante here, and I'm going to have to send myself in human form and show them how to do this. Me being with them in a cloud and following them around everywhere and giving them profits, and that's not enough for them, And it's still, and I'm being funny, but and I can just imagine. What are we, and we mock the people in the Old Testament, how could they not see? How could they not? And we don't see either. And God's everywhere. It's hard. It is so hard when when we want to see what we want to see and we can't see that. And so and we're so we have to give ourselves a little bit of grace, because He gives us all the grace in the world. And realize that, all right, I'm at the limit of what I can do for myself, and I really do need a Savior. I really do need a rescuer. I really do need, my Creator, who created all of the universe, to come in, and I need some real help to show me how to do this, because I don't know how to live this life.
Yeah. It's not it's the fact that He gave us our own decision-making abilities. We're human, and He gave us the ability to, And he said, I'm not going to, interfere. You make your decisions, and then we go from there.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's just part of it. And we are a fouled up place, but you're right. Once we make that decision to say, okay, I know I can't do this. I know I can't make these decisions by myself. I know I can't live here by myself. I know that I am not, I am not the one in control. And finding that place in that space to say, okay, I give it up because I can't do it. And and that's what I find myself, you as entrepreneurs, right? We're in business, and we are working our tails off. And that's kind of, and I know for me personally, and I think for you historically, not now, but it can be all consuming. What can I do to make it better? What can I do to build? What can I do? What am I doing wrong? How am I doing this? And it's interesting. I have just started reading a book called Battle Plan for Prayer. Have you read that book?
I haven't. Ooh, yeah. It sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Because I'll be the first to admit that I always have prayed, but I'm like, okay, I know you have the Lord's Prayer, that's the guideline, but how do you really pray? Anyway, it's kind of that interesting thing. And so I'm only not even halfway through the book yet, but I've already learned, and I'm changing the way that I speak to God, our conversation, to being super targeted. I'm like, this is what I need. Please just help me get it. One of those things is focus. I go in and out of focus all the time. I'm going to tell you, the first time I prayed for focus, which is, I don't know, a week ago, I've had more focus over the last, week or so. I'm like, whoa, okay, cool. It's the small, tiny things, but it was a very noticeable difference. Pretty cool stuff. And we talked about this. There's one of the guys on the station, Charlie Pacello, and I say this because I think this is important. Prayer is important, meditation is important, and I feel like I'm jumping all over the place, and maybe because my mind's going all over the place.
Yes,
but
it's fine.
Charlie, it was during a show. I think it was on his show, maybe, but I don't know. It doesn't matter. But anyway, he said that prayer is talking to God, and meditation is allowing God to talk to you. And I just went, oh, I love that so much, and I repeat it all the time. And Charlie gets total credit for that, because it was a little bit of a changer, because meditation is super important to sit and to allow your body to relax and to breathe. And we need to have our time to talk, but we need to have our time to listen as well.
Yes.
And when we're talking about this world that we live in, where we have the stress and the frustration and the fear and the anger, and all of these things, and taking it back, making the choice to be happy, making the choice to find joy, and taking the time to be still, it changes your biochemistry in order to...
It absolutely does.
It does. And if we can... I say this a lot, but it's true, and I know a lot of people say it too, but if each of us takes the time to try to work on this, we can change the world. I mean, it's not a small thing that could happen if we, even if 50% of us, really made an effort to do these things, to create the stillness in ourselves, the joy in ourselves. It flows. It could be amazing.
Absolutely. Well, we have to understand that we have God in us.
Right.
So we have the same power in us that Jesus had in him. And so where he, and I don't mean that we're at that level per se. I think we have that power in us, though. And that's what Jesus wanted us to understand. And that's why he trained his disciples to harness that power. And the thing that I think the church doesn't teach us, and I'm not knocking the church, I don't mean that, but for the most part, I didn't learn this in church. I never learned this in religion. I've learned this through my relationship with God. But we don't know how to harness our power. We don't know how to harness. We're not maybe open to the principles of energy and quantum physics that are real, that God created.
Right.
In addition to, and how to combine that with the principles of religion, the principles of Christianity, or whatever religion you're practicing. But like we're talking about Christianity today, so then that's that's happens to be my I call myself a Jesus follower instead of a. I don't. There's such pushback these days because there's been so much religious abuse and
absolutely.
And people have such a pushback when you say you're a Christian. It's not that I don't deny that I'm a Christian. I absolutely am, but I'm just a Jesus follower. I just believe. I believe he's our Savior. I believe he's I believe he's the one that overcame all of it. And so I need to know, I want to follow him, and so he was God incarnate, so that's who I follow. But but we have God in us, and we have to understand that our prayer isn't powerless, and that we are not powerless in this. God has given us power and authority to live victoriously in this world. But what happens is we don't understand how to harness that. We don't understand how to harness our gifts. We don't understand what our superpowers are. And so we live powerlessly in a world that feels so overpowering and stressful and in so much struggle and hardship, because we don't understand the power and we don't know where our power lies. And that was the difference in Jesus. Jesus knew where his power was. And so he would say things, he would look at the fig tree that didn't have any fruit on it when he needed something to eat, and he would say, that's not the reality. As God's son, that's not my reality is not lack. My reality is not hunger. My reality is not powerlessness. I know that my Father, the creator of everything in the universe, has given me the power of life and death, and it's in my tongue. And so he would speak to the fig tree and fruit would appear. And now he had a faith that was so strong, and he had harnessed the energy in him to be at a frequency that was so high at the level of love, light, and joy that God exists at, that he knew how to bring those two together to create miracles.
Yeah.
And that's what oftentimes, whether we're in our ministry, we're in our business, we're in our lives, in our relationships, in our marriages, we just don't know how to do the same thing when we have that accessible to us. We just have to know what we have in us, understand, number one, our giftings and what we're created for, and what God has put in us to do in the world, and then understand that everything inside of us and everything around us supports us in being who we're created to be. And so there is no lack. There is no, we don't have to live in discouragement, defeat, and disappointment. We can have the power of our tongue to create powerfully in our own lives, in our businesses, we just have to line up our belief systems with the truth of God and what he says is the truth. And then we can speak that into being. We can align with that energetically and see that manifest as reality, because it's already our reality in the spiritual realm. We just have to bring it to the physical realm through our belief, through our the power of our thinking, through our not being blocked energetically because of some past experience or past trauma, and learn to manage our energy, which is all of, it's nutrition, diet, our diet, our exercise, we're always, if we're aware and we're cognizant, we're always managing our energy. But nobody, well, not let's say nobody, it's only the healers that are teaching us that.
Right.
And so we ignore that, and we just think, oh, I'm fine, I'm good, I can binge out on Netflix tonight. And there's nothing wrong with binging on Netflix, I do it too, but, what I'm saying is we live in distraction, and we live in belief, and we're putting dead things in our body, expecting them to bring life. Yeah. And Jesus just understood that. Yeah. And we don't understand the gravity of how we choose to live, and the spiritual, and that's why the spiritual piece is so important, is because those spiritual disciplines are determining whether we're creating, we're staying stuck, or we're destroying.
Right.
Energy at all points, in every moment.
I love that.
And Jesus knew how to do it.
Yeah.
And he taught us, he teaches us how to do it. It's just, we don't get that. What we get is, oh, you're just supposed to do this and not do that, and you have to act like this, you can't act like that, and we're missing it. That's not what he was, all of that law and performance stuff. I mean, that's what he got so angry at. He's like, I'm not about performance. I'm about being real. I'm just trying to teach you how to manage what I put in you, and how to harness the power I put in you to unleash your brilliance in the world that I have uniquely given you, that is a combination of God's heart, of my heart, that no one else has. And so we are overcomers, but we don't live like that.
I love that. I need to take a super quick break. I want to have you on again tomorrow. We don't have a show tomorrow, but we still have 20 minutes, but I have to take a quick break because I want to dig into a couple of things that you said, but we have to talk real quick about our sponsor, who I love. Cellcore Biosciences is an amazing, innovative, fairly new company to the world of health and wellness. And the way they work is not just by, just by supplementing nutrients like a lot of companies do, which is, a lot of what I've been taught, right? This is where we go deeper. We go deep into cellular health, mitochondrial health, genetic health, things like that. And the way that they work is unique to any other company on the market. And I've experienced them personally. I work with my clients using these products because they go deeper. I went to a conference, and you've probably heard me say this before, but I went to one of their conferences, and I always tell everybody, always ask why. Never settle for this is your symptom, this is the drug that you need. Always ask why. Go deeper. Okay, you have gut issues, go deeper. Why do you have gut issues? You have an infection. Why do you have an infection? There's so much there that can be uncovered. And I thought that I went pretty deep already, but this company has taught me to go even deeper. And I love that about them. I love that about who they are, when we need to work at a deeper level, at a truly foundational level of health, because that's a lot of what is being missed right now. So Cellcore, they are amazing at what they do. I appreciate them for who they are. I love that they're a sponsor of the show. And so you can only get their products through practitioners, so obviously you can get it through me, but there are many practitioners, more and more all the time, who use their products. They're changing lives. It's pretty cool stuff. So I wanted to make sure that I send a shout out to those guys. And then, of course, to the station, KUHS Denver, streaming live. They have some super great people who do shows on the station. And so check them out. Check out the other shows. My business partner she's got a show as well. So it's all good stuff. So we appreciate you being here and being a part of the KUHS family. So when, a couple of things, one of the things that you said that I really love is you said we eat dead food expecting it to help us to live. Is that how you said it? Expecting it to give us life.
I think I said, dead things. And that food is one of the biggest things that we eat, that, there are so many dead things we try to put in our body, though, that, dead energy, dead relationship, you try to put in our space or our body, and that is absolutely one of them. That's the big one that causes most of our problems.
So much of it, yeah. And I wanted to hit on it just a little bit because, what we talk about a lot, when I work with clients, and I know when you're working with people as well, is these spirals that we can get ourselves into, and not in a good way. But you know, if we're eating, if we're not eating well, if we're not feeding ourselves well, whether it's feeding ourselves, you know, nourishing ourselves with healthy relationships, with healthy food, with the healthy products that we put on our body, with the things that we put in our environment, all of these things, it creates dis-ease, right? That's where the word disease comes from, right? Is dis-ease. And so it can be mental, emotional, physical. We're not eating well. I am a nutritionist, so I feel like I should talk a little bit about food, but but if we're nutrient deficient, that creates stress. If we're already stressed, we've got more stress, and we're eating inflammatory foods, which creates more stress. And then, so this is where we deal with these downward spirals. You know, it's hard sometimes to get out of them, because you got to find a place to stop the spiral and start feeding yourself in whatever manner that looks like, and truly nourishing your body. Food is, and this is my favorite thing to say, I say it probably every show, but there's somebody new who's going to hear it. But food is a language, and food is what tells our body how to work, what to do, how to react, you know, again, at the cellular and the genetic level. And if we're eating good, clean food, then our body says, okay, I got this, I know what to do. If we're putting in good energy, if we have good relationships, you know, all of these things speak to our cells and to our DNA. If we're eating food that is unclean, pesticides, herbicides, colorings, preservatives, chemicals, dead food, then it creates confusion. And the body's like, it's like speaking a foreign language, right? You're like, I don't know what to do here. And so this is where it's only as a part of what it can look like to start to reverse this stress that we're all dealing with and trying to work through, is feeding ourselves well in all of these different ways, so we can begin to see, right? To see our world, and to see, you know, where we are right now, and then figure out what are the other ways that I can help to embrace and to make better, and you know, and that includes the prayer and the meditation and all the things that we're talking about. What I really kind of want to dig into, though, that I love, and it took me, I don't know, it was just a couple of years ago that I realized that we can put these two things together, but is faith. And how do I, because what you said was, you know, the quantum physics, but bringing together that we do have power in visualization and in energy. You know, we have
Yes.
negative energy that will create negativity. We can bring up our energy, because we are all energetic beings. God created energetic beings. God created energy. Everything works on energy and electricity, right? Kind of the same thing.
Yes.
Which is a bizarre kind of, for me it was a little bit of a bizarre concept, but knowing that we have the ability to increase our vibration in order to bring in good and to create our own future, this is where we're making our own choices, right? God gave us the ability to make our own choices, and He won't interfere until He wants to, right?
Right.
But that's kind of what I want to dig into a little bit, if you're okay with that.
I love that, because that's what I'm so passionate about.
Yeah.
that. And as a Christian, I didn't, a Jesus follower, I didn't understand that for so many years. And so I stayed stuck, and I lived at under a limited ceiling in my business. I lived under in a frustrating existence in my life, and everything felt so hard because I didn't understand how to harness the power of my energy. And so it is something that we are creating consciously or unconsciously every moment that we are alive. Mm-hmm. And we're either creating what we do want consciously, or we're creating what we don't want unconsciously. And what I mean by that is based upon how we show up energetically, and that includes what our emotions are, which are determined by our beliefs, our mindsets, the things that have happened to us. That's why it's so important to get our healing and live wholeheartedly, because if something in there, even a little t trauma, something happened that, was a little bit traumatizing or gave us a very powerful belief or message about ourselves or about our worth, or something is in alignment inside of us with, can I really do this, what I want to do, and do I deserve this, am I worthy of this, am I enough? If we're questioning that, and I know that we all are at some level, but the more we question it, the lower our energy, the lower we're vibrating. Mm-hmm. And we're giving mixed signals, so we may be asking for something in prayer all, for years, but something inside of us is blocking it from coming. God isn't withholding. Maybe we're blocking it because of a belief that we have that is limiting what we can receive. Mm-hmm. Or maybe we don't feel. Maybe we're not open energetically to be able to receive it. We're closed off because we're in self-protection over something, or we're in survival and distraction, and we don't even recognize how energetically we're showing up. But all of that matters so much, and there are specific things that we can do, and prayer and meditation are a big part of those. As our energy, as our movement and food, and centering ourselves and breathing, doing all the things to take care, to nourish and be loving to ourselves, because we're the masterpieces. We're the artists that are creating the masterpieces in our lives, in our businesses, in our relationships, and we're creating what we do want, or we're creating what we don't want. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that is a crucial piece, and we absolutely can create new realities when we change how we are showing up energetically, and when our mindsets, the things that we believe are possible, as we open to new possibilities, those new possibilities come in based upon whether we're in alignment with that energetically or we're not. Mm-hmm. When we're not going to draw it to us. We're going to resist it. Yeah. And so it's so important for us to understand how powerful we really are. Right. And a lot of times, we don't recognize, we think God is this big power in the sky, when really it's just learning how to harness the power of God inside of us. Mm-hmm. But we have to be responsible and conscious and intentional about doing that, which requires us to learn some really very important practices.
So when you are working with clients, give a couple of examples maybe that that would be helpful for people who are listening.
Yeah. So it depends on what the client wants. Sure. I'll say this also. It's oftentimes we're trying to do things backwards. So many times what I have is I work with entrepreneurs and people who are visionaries, who are change makers. So sometimes they have businesses, sometimes they have organizations, whatever it is that they're trying to create something that they want to create. That usually, I work with very heart-centered people who have a real passion for what they do. Mm-hmm. And they want to make an important change. They want to make an impact in the world. And what I see, the struggles that I see most are that they're trying to build their business and run their business without understanding their power and their magic and their superpower inside of them. Right. And so they don't really truly understand what makes them so special. Mm-hmm. And what is that innate gift, that zone of genius that they can do, that they're the best in the world at doing the way that they do it. There might be 50,000 other nutritionists in this world. Mm-hmm. But the way you see nutrition, Nikki, the way that you minister to your clients, the way that you coach people, the way that you teach, you bring all of your unique experiences, all your unique gifts, and you have something inside of you that is a superpower, that is a way that you have been given to do something that nobody else does quite like you do.
Right.
And oftentimes, though, because we've had experiences in our lives that have taught us how unworthy we are, how we're going to screw it up, we've seen our own failures, or perceived failures, we haven't learned something that we needed, so there's a gap there in some skill that we need. We haven't, maybe we've had an experience that, where we feel like we can't say hard things, we can't really own what we want because it might be wrong, whatever that is. All of those mindsets and experiences and beliefs that we have as a result of living our life stays with us. And we're filtering everything that we do through that filter, whether we realize it or not. And so oftentimes we're telling ourselves, this is what I'm trying to create in the world, and this is what I'm so passionate and excited about, but it's not coming out that way because there's a belief that's keeping us stuck. Or because because we don't feel worthy, so we're sabotaging it in some way. Or we are, we haven't ever seen resources show up at the level that we need them to. They're not stockpiled in our life, and we're not independently wealthy, so we have this lack mentality, so we don't understand just how powerful we are and how much abundance is really accessible to us when we decide to take a leap of faith. Oftentimes we're living controlled by fear and doubt instead of showing up and leading our business through courage and conviction. Oftentimes we're running our business and we're not even really aware of why we're doing what we're doing and why we're structuring it the way that we're structuring it. We're just doing what we think is available to us because someone else has taught us that's the only way to do it. But really, if we learn to tune into our intuition and do it in a way that aligned with what's really important to us and the way that we work best, then we do it completely differently, and we set ourselves on fire and burst wide open the ceilings in our business, but we don't ever give ourselves, we can't see out of our own fishbowl oftentimes. And so those are the kinds of problems, and I wouldn't call problems, those are the kinds of things that are keeping people stuck, that that's my superpower. I have a gift to be able to see into someone and see and ask the questions to be able to unlock those things, so that they can truly unleash their brilliance in a way that is in alignment with what matters most to them, lining up all of their gifts, their strengths, and their experiences in life, everything working on all cylinders. Energetically, they're most powerful. They're showing up in a way where they feel empowered and they know how to harness their energy, and they understand. They're changing those beliefs that are keeping them stuck in some way, so that it blows everything up. And so that's why I call myself a master of breakthrough, because that's my gift.
I love that, and I love that so much because you speak to exactly where I know I am. I know this in a lot of ways, that I have a hard time seeing outside of my own little box. And I know very clearly that it is beneficial for me to seek out people. I'm a seeker, and I like to seek out people who are seekers, but who know different things and can help me better seek and see outside of what I know, because I don't know if I'm just not that creative. I'm like, okay, this is what I know, this is what I'm going to do, okay, this is what we do, until somebody over here says, what about this? I'm like, you just opened up a whole new world to me. You know? I mean, it's pretty amazing stuff when that happens.
It is, and we can't see that because and that's the good thing, is that it's not even our job to see that. God didn't create us to do it alone, and so that's why we need each other. I mean, and everybody has their own lane of expertise, or their own lane of you know, I like to call it superpower, you know, I mean, where they can just, you know, help somebody unlock what's inside of them. And I always say that I just see the gold in people and I can pull it out and help them not just pull it out, but empower them to know where their power comes from so that they can unleash their gold in the world. And they can own it like they've never owned it before. And then I'm a creative problem solver too, so I can then help them look at, open to all the possibilities in their business and in their life. You know, I mean, you can't separate one and the other, you know. All of the possibilities that are in alignment with who they are and what matters most to them.
Right.
And when they're, and you know, the other thing is clarity is power. And you talked about visualization. That's a huge, I use a ton of visualization in my coaching. And in my own life, I mean, it is a huge part of my everyday visualizing, because clarity is power, because we can, that's the other thing, so many times people have businesses or they have this thing that they're creating that's, you know, their masterpiece, and it is their life's work. It's everything in them is so passionate about it, yet there are pieces that they're not clear about.
Right.
And so we can only create what we can see or what we can visualize. That's where our imagination comes in. If we're not clear in our mind about where we're headed, because either we don't believe we can have that really, or because we really don't, we don't really know what that would look like because it's so far-fetched, or because we can't even see outside of our own box, which is not a, you know, that's just humanness.
Yep.
And the other thing is, you know, we're seeing, because we are physical beings that live in a spiritual world, we're not seeing the things in the spirit, we're seeing the things in the physical. And so we're reminded every day of what is instead of what could be. And so it's hard.
Yeah.
We have to do a lot of visualization work so that our mind, and we can actually train our mind. This comes from my sports psychology background. We can actually train our mind. Our mind doesn't know the difference when it has a picture in it of a new reality that we're creating. It doesn't distinguish that from reality. From a picture of our imagination. We practice something so much in our brain doesn't know the difference between that and reality. And so that's how we create anew, is we have to see things so clearly, and so many times the new thing that we want over seeing in the physical every day the reality of our circumstance or our situation that is. You know, I mean, and, you know, that's where, you know, Jesus taught us better than ever. I mean, God, you know, God says this, and we're like, well, that's not true in my life, because that doesn't, you know, I'm as broke as, like, I don't have that kind of abundance. Like, where is that? You know, well, you don't know how to cultivate that abundance in your own brain yet to be able to create that, but it is yours. Yeah. It's just learning how to clarify what it is that we really want, and what we want to create, and making that our reality in our mind before it becomes our reality in our life. And that is a huge piece that people don't know, because what happens is, as business owners, we're so busy, caught up in the distractions every day. We're doing, and we don't, and then we don't know the skill of how to actually do these spiritual practices, and it takes someone teaching us that, shepherding us through that, that we just kind of end up with the same old thing, and nothing ever changes, and we're wondering, well, why is this still my reality when I'm praying so hard, or I'm working so hard, and I'm trying to make it so different, but we don't understand the power of what we're creating in our mind.
Right.
What are we reinforcing there? Are we reinforcing what is, or are we reinforcing what is going to be?
Yeah. I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's a great place to stop, because I hate to stop, but we have to.
I know. I'm so passionate about this.
I know. I love it.
Yeah.
So real quick, let everybody know where they can find you.
Oh, yeah. Well, my website is ConnieJonesCoach.com, and that's probably the best place to read all about me. And then, of course, Connie Jones on social media. You can do my personal page, or Connie Jones Coaching is my professional page. And then at Connie Jones Coach on Instagram.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was just exactly what I hoped for.
Good.
So thank you for that. And just real quick, of course, you can find me, tastelifenutrition.com, Taste Life Nutrition on all of the social media. I'm Nikki Burnett. You can go to a couple of things, sort of new. You can go to, this is not new, but go to my website, fill out the assessment. I think it's the button is Rejuvenate Your Life. You can fill out the assessment, and I'll reach out to you personally, and we can talk about what you might need, what we can do maybe to help you. And then there's another one. I made a cookbook, so so I have it as kind of just a little special for the holidays. So you can go to my website, and I think there should be a tab at the top where you can get it for just $7, just $7 cookbook, and it's 5-ingredient cookbook. So I think I like ease. Ease is good, and so for the season that we're in, having stuff that's easy and quick, I think it can be a really helpful and really good thing. So reach out. You can join our Body Bliss Facebook group. We would love to have you there. All of you ladies who are hardworking and looking to design your amazing lifestyle, join us there. And I think that's it. Merry Christmas to you, Connie. Merry Christmas to all of you out there. Really feel what the season is about. Enjoy it. Love it. Love on your family. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. The new year. Crazy. All right.
Exciting.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Connie. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.